Hey, thanks for joining us today. We're going to talk about mandrels and pads for power sanding. Hope you'll enjoy it. Stay tuned. A question we're often asked is why power sanding? Why can't I just hand sand? You can, but it's efficiency. So what I do is I take a mandrel like this, I put it into something to turn it. A drill works, generally what we use. And then I apply it with sandpaper to the bowl. And as the bowl's spinning and as the sandpaper spinning, it's going to give you a better scratch pattern, more consistent scratch pattern than if you're doing it by hand. Now the mandrels we carry are the Tim Skilton mandrels. Let's take a look at the Skilton mandrel. So you have two different densities of foams. The lower foam is softer, so to give you better conformity to the sides of the vessel, and then a more dense one on the top. And then you have a washer, and you have a 1/4-inch hex shaft with quick release. That design itself is exclusive to Turningwood.com. And the hex shaft threads down into a T-nut, and then the whole thing is thermal welded together. It's a high quality product, but as far as mandrels go, it's not inexpensive, but it'll last a lot longer than multiple versions of the import brands. We have the 3-inch Skilton, and then we have a 2-inch, and then we also have a 1-inch, well, technically 30 millimeters. And so you would want to use a 3-inch mandrel for anything that's going to have a large concave or convex. And the benefit there is that you have a much larger surface area on it, and you can finish the sanding portion a lot quicker. But if I was only going to buy one, what I would do is go with a 2-inch mandrel. So a 2-inch mandrel, the benefits are the sanding material is less expensive, the mandrel is less expensive, and this is going to work on everything up to say 12 inches and maybe a little bit bigger. Now if you're going to get two, then go with a 2-inch and a 3-inch. Now the 30 millimeter mandrel is really for detail work. So getting rid of the nub on the back of a bowl or a hollow form, something where you've got it right down to the bottom and then you just need to clean it up a little bit. The thing about these is that they have such a small surface area that you can't really have the piece spinning fast and the mandrel spinning fast because the sandpaper will fly off with too much pressure. So now that you have mandrels, you're going to need to drive it. One of the easiest and best ways probably is by using a right angle sander. Right angle sanders are a dime a dozen. You can pick them up at your auto parts store anymore. Pep Boys, Harbor Freight, whatever. There isn't a lot of great plug-in sanders available anymore. That one was a Sioux and they don't make them anymore. Another option is to go with a cordless. This is a Milwaukee 2438-20. It has a really weird thread on it. It's a 9.5 millimeter thread. It comes with a 3-inch, which is going to work fine because you just use a pad on it. And it comes with a 2-inch roll-lock. And you could take the 2-inch roll-lock off and rethread the male end here to a 1/4-20, and then remove the mandrel or remove the post on the mandrel, and then screw that back in and you're good to go. It works great. It's pretty lightweight. It comes with 2 batteries if you need extended period of time. Lastly is air tools. I'm not a big fan of air tools. I have a random orbit sander. That's an air tool. It just doesn't have the oomph to it. It stops too easy. You're not going to want to use for a die grinder, although there are a lot of people out there using die grinders and hand drills, or pneumatic drills. Not a fan of it because it spins it too fast. The mandrels are only made to go up to about 1800 RPM. Anything above that, you're just going to generate too much heat. Just the same way you really don't want to spin the bowl or piece of work that you're using too fast either, because it's going to generate heat. Heat generates cracks, and heat also will burnish the wood, and burnish sometimes makes it a little bit more difficult to get all your scratches. Lastly, an option is a hand sander that these are a passive sander. It has no motor, and hence the passive part. And what it does is, as you apply this to the bowl and the bowl is spinning, then it will also turn the sander itself. You can use a 2-inch or 3-inch mandrel. The problem with these is that as you're sanding the inside, your surface feet per minute as the piece spins is going to be slow, even though the RPM is the same, as opposed to the outside of the bowl or the piece you're working on, which has a faster surface feet per minute or a higher surface feet per minute, even though it's going the same RPMs, but because of the diameter, it's going to spin this faster. So they work really well on the outside of the bowl. It just takes a little bit more patience than if you were doing it with a air tool or with a battery or plug-in type sander. All right, now for pads, why would you want to use a pad? Well, what a pad does is gives you better conformance to the bowl itself or to the piece itself, because this is going to squish it, and it gives you more contact area with the sandpaper against the bowl. So that helps with a couple things. It's, one, you're going to have more consistent sanding and more consistent scratches, which is really what you want. If you have something that is even just a little bit warped, what this does is, as it's moving, it's going to conform to the bowl better, and you're going to, once again, get more consistent sanding. The components are basic. You have your mandrel, and then you have pads. The pads are going to be different thicknesses and different densities of foam. You have this firm one to when you don't want a lot of conformance, or you want something to be relatively flat. And then you have the same density of foam but different thicknesses, which is going to give it more flexibility. The thinner one is what I use most often, and the thicker one is if I have a lot of concave into a bowl, then I can get it to conform better. The thing about a thicker one, though, is that the faster you spin it, the more out of round it gets because of the centrifugal force. So the other thing I'd really recommend is the disc holder protective pads. The protective pads really are a sacrificial pad. You put them anywhere you want to make sure that you're keeping your Velcro in pristine shape. So what you want to do is just apply that, and you could just leave it there. Now, if you have a mesh product like Abranet, all you need to do is pull that off, blow this out with a handy dandy All right, who stole it? There's nobody here. Blow it out with a air gun, and then just put your sandpaper back onto it. So you could put this really anywhere in the process, but I'd recommend putting it on the outermost surface that you're trying to protect. The beauty here is that it's going to protect the mandrel, which is the most expensive part of this whole process. Okay, lastly, one of the things I can't stress enough is proper removal of the pad. Always pinch both sides and peel away while holding these. Especially the more flexible pads, you only have so much contact area, and the foam is rather fragile in terms of foam. And so if you were to just peel this off, you risk tearing the foam here, and you have to go get another one. So remember, pinch and pull. Pinch and pull. All right. Hope you enjoyed that. See us next time here at turningwood.com, and I welcome your comments. Have a great day.